Good evening, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host, Ahmad Nawaz. Tonight, our top story is going to be Pakistan's World Cup squad that has finally been given a shape that we all wanted to see. Most of us are probably not happy, but at the end of the day, I keep on saying this and I will repeat this, that this is the squad that needs your support. These are guys who are going to be representing Pakistan in the T20 International World Cup in the UAE and Oman, and regardless if you have your personal likings or dislikings, you need to support them. Shoaib Malik has made the last minute entry into this squad, that wild card entry, because Shoaib Maqsood was ruled out due to a back injury. And having Shoaib Malik, I personally have this opinion that it's going to strengthen our squad. I know people around the world or in Pakistan are disagreeing to an extent, but I still think that it's essential, at least for ICC tournaments, to have experience in between. I understand that most of you Pakistanis on social media are all out for supporting a youth bulge in our team and looking to the future. But as we look to the future, we also need to make sure that we win ICC tournaments, we keep the experience, and then when we jump to the future, we've got the necessary changes that we can make. And obviously the fact is that three particular changes that we'll be talking about tonight is Haider Ali, Sarfaraz Ahmed and Shoaib Malik, and of course the batting order that we would like to see and the bowling options as well. After that, we'll be moving on to another topic tonight on Sports Extra. That will be the UEFA Nations League final between France and Spain. France had the better, 2 goals from them, 1 from Spain, Karim Benzema and Kylian Mbappe winning that decider goal that was there, the winning moment. And it was great to see that France is still dominating world football. They've got one of the best squads in the world. Their sheer names just speak for themselves. I think Spain, with a youth bulge of a team, youth-oriented team, getting to the finals of the Euro is a big achievement for them. Elsewhere, on the third position, Italy were able to defeat Belgium. Belgium once again choked and Italy got third position. After that, in the last segment of the show, we're going to be talking about something exciting. It's going to be world heavyweight boxing. It was Deontay Wilder up against Tyson Fury, and Fury, with all his aura, all his attitude and all his typical British mentality that he brings in, was able to knock out Deontay Wilder in the 11th round and take this decision unanimously and take this fight as well. This fight was the most talked about fight in the entire world. People also had the reservations whether it will go on or not, because in the past we've seen many of these games, of these matches, these big event fight nights scheduled, but at the end of the day, 1 or 2 boxers pulling out, and definitely due to COVID, things were tough as well. But Fury really has shown us all that he's a champion. The die-hard spirit is there, and that's why he brought this to the fight. Starting our discussion off with Pakistan's squad, I'll be introducing my guest in just a few moments. We've got a report. Let's go take a look, and then we'll come back to our guest.
Pakistan Cricket Board has announced the addition of Haider Ali, Fakhr Zaman, Sarfaraz Ahmed and Shoaib Malik to their 15-member squad for the upcoming ICC Men's T20 World Cup 2021. From the squad that was announced on 4th September, Pakistan's national selectors confirmed 3 changes to their squad after taking into consideration player performances and recent form in the national T20. Sarfaraz Ahmed and Haider Ali replaced Azam Khan and Mohammad Hasnain respectively, while Fakhr Zaman, who was originally named as a travel reserve, swapped places with Khushdil Shah. Another recent change made to the squad by the Pakistan Cricket Board was ruling Shoaib Maqsood out of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup due to a lower back injury he picked up during a match against the Northern in the national T20. The injury required him to rest and undergo an extensive rehabilitation process. He has been replaced by Shoaib Malik, who is one of the few international players who also featured in the inaugural edition of the tournament in 2007. The Pakistan squad for the ICC Men's T20 World Cup will depart for Dubai on October 15th. They will play 2 warm-up matches against the West Indies and South Africa on October 18th and October 20th, respectively, before taking on India in a Group 2 fixture on October 24th at the Dubai International Cricket Stadium.
There you have it, all you need to know about the squad in detail. To talk more on this in studios, we've been joined by sports journalist, cricket presenter, also the head of Metamorphed with a D, of course, that is there. And of course, he's an expert when it comes to the digital realm, Shahzaib Ali. Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum salam. I'm fine, Ahmad.
Great to have you on the show. It's been a long time, but you're here once again, here with a bang, because what we're discussing is Pakistan's squad. How are you seeing this, especially the last minute changes that have been made?
Well, while I was traveling, Pakistan Cricket Board were busy in making changes in Pakistan's squad. Well, Sarfaraz Ahmad has proved his performance in National T20 Cup. If you see, he has won 2 games with the bat for his side, and his experience, because Babar Azam in past said that Sarfaraz, although he's not the part of final 11, but the atmosphere which he creates with his experience in the dressing room, that is so important for Pakistan. He is a Champions Trophy winning captain. He can back the guys, and if it's required, he can support the middle order as well, because he's a very good and decent player of spin bowling as well. And as you see, World Cup is going to be played in UAE, and there will be spin tracks, there will be slow tracks, so 150, 160 will be a par score. So you need batters like Sarfaraz, Shoaib Malik and Hafiz in the middle order, who can accumulate, rotate the strike and can occupy the time on the crease and can finish the games.
Shahzaib, there's a very particular set of people here in Pakistan who believe that we need to look to the future, look towards a youth team, and not take players who have been there for ages like Shoaib Malik or Hafiz along. But I am of a different opinion. I think we need to have this experience until we are ready to make the complete change. Now, because you particularly mentioned about Sarfaraz, people have started comparing him with Azam Khan, which is totally, I think, foolish, because Azam has his own aura. Sarfaraz is, like you mentioned, Champions Trophy winning captain, 11 consecutive series for Pakistan in T20 international cricket. He's got the experience. He was only dropped because of his batting, and the way he was handled by the PCB was very disappointing. Now, do you also believe that people need to realize that Azam is one for the future? He's got the ability, but at this moment, as a backup wicket keeper, as an experienced middle order batsman, there is no replacement for Sarfaraz.
Well, Azam has got the time on his side. He's just 22, 23. He can play. He needs to play few more first-class seasons as well. He has just played 1 first-class game. So your game will be improved if you play more first-class games. You will know how to occupy the time on the crease. We have saw in a National T20 Cup that Azam was lacking the patience. He was constantly going for the big hits, and he was struggling, and then he was just hitting a rare shot and just getting out. So I think Azam need to play a few more seasons of the first class cricket, and then might be he can be a good prospect for Pakistan. But at the moment, Sarfaraz is just 34. He can play 2 to 3 years more for Pakistan. So if you have that experience option, why you are going for the youngsters? And one more thing which I want to add, that this is not just a one T20 World Cup. Next year, after 13 months, we have another one T20 as well. If Shoaib Malik, Hafiz can deliver in this tournament and can carry themselves till the next year, then why not use their experience, because that tournament will be played in Australian conditions. You have seen Khushdil Shah in National T20 Cup. We have seen Sohaib Maqsood. He was carrying fitness issues. He batted well in couple of games, scored 50s, but as an opener. But at the same time, his fielding was not at the good. He was dropping consistent catches. So I think if you go with the experienced guys, that would help Pakistan as well, because you know that we need a good spinners as well on this wicket, and Pakistan is going with the all-rounders. Shahzaib, Nawaz and Ahmad, all are all-rounders, and Shoaib Malik and Hafiz can roll their arms as well. So that will make Pakistan combination further better. Shoaib Malik and Hafiz both are all-rounders, but at least they have 20-22 years experience.
That's very important, and also considering the fact that guys like Mohammad Hafiz can also bowl the new ball for you if you've got a left-handed problem, because they're very effective up against that. But seeing the squad in detail and what we talked about, the certain changes, Fakhar Zaman also comes back into the squad. Now, how do we adjust, in your expert opinion, as a fan and an expert of cricket and as a sports journalist, how do you want to see the playing 11 now with these bunch of players?
Well, if you ask for my reckoning, I want to see Rizwan open with Fakhar Zaman, because we need that power at the top of the order. And I think management should set Fakhar that you don't have to worry about your performance, just go from the ball one. If you hit, we'll get 70 in first power play. If you fails, then Babar.
And that's been a problem for us. Our first power play has not been.
Babar and Rizwan are the mature players. We can depend on them, but we can't expect 70 or 80 from them in first 6 overs. They will play 10 to 12 overs, will get you 100, 110 runs. They will bat like 35 ball 50, 40 ball 50. They can't go for 20 ball 50, 25 ball 50. So sometimes you need that power, because you have Babar Azam at number 3, then you will have Shoaib Malik at number 4, and then Mohammad Hafiz at number 5. This is a heavy batting order. You can give license to Fakhar Zaman to go from the ball 1.
That's very important to understand this, that we need to utilize not just the first 6 overs, but also the last 4 or 5 overs of our innings, because in the past we have seen Pakistan have had that weakness or problem that down the order we couldn't finish the innings. We tried all sorts of power hitters, Asif Ali, Khushtil Shah, Iftikhar Ahmad, nothing was working. But now good to see that even if we go to our tail down the order or look at these all-rounders like you mentioned, Nawaz, Shahzaib, Ahmad, and even down the order, Hassan Ali, Haris Rauf, Shahzaib, Hassan Ali, Shaheen Shah Afridi, all can bat now. So that's first question is ticked now.
We have seen few helicopter shots and switch hits from Haris Rauf as well that were quite impressive in National T20 Cup.
So that does mean that we've got a strengthened batting order that we're looking for. But like you mentioned, that you want to see Fakhr at the top. Who's going to talk to Babar, because this is a big sacrifice, and we've always mentioned the fact that teams all around the world have got their best player at number 3 position. Virat Kohli, Kane Williamson, guys who are probably the best for their teams are coming at number 3. So do you think Babar should be ready to sacrifice that position?
We have seen Virat Kohli open the innings for India in last World Cup back in 2016, and Williamson also did that for New Zealand in few matches. But I think Babar will go with that combination, because if you remember West Indies series, there were 3 tosses, no games, but 3 tosses, and Pakistan batting order were Shahzaib at the top. Babar was batting at number 3. But if we go back then, in England series, Babar and Rizwan were opening and Fakhr was playing at number 5. I don't think so Fakhr will play at number 5, but probably if Babar will go at the open, then Fakhr might come at number 3 as well. But we have another player who can play very well at number 3, and we have seen that in national T20, Hazir Ali. He has finished the games. He has taken all the responsibility and finished the games. In past, we have given enough chances to Hazir Ali. He wasn't delivering. He was giving consistent chances, but he was not performing.
But I think his role was not curtailed. Like you mentioned, that management needs to talk to Fakhr. Can the management also talk to Hazir and tell him that your place is permanent, just play your natural game?
I think that would be beneficial for Pakistan, because he is a player who can take the responsibility and can finish the games if he given a proper chance. In past, he was tried at number 4, number 6, number 7, not at number 3 or open. He debuted at number 3. He scored a 50 against England in England conditions, but then we saw him playing at number 5, number 6. I think he's a top order player. He maybe can open for Pakistan as well.
Our bowling options, if we talk about them now, because I think we've mentioned your batting options, look like pretty solid right now. We know that we're going to go with Haris, Hassan Ali and Shaheen, who are our prime 3 fast bowlers. We also have the ability to use Wasim Jr. when we want. Spin options, Ahmad and Shahzaib. People have been asking, do you also believe that Nawaz can fit in there somehow if needed?
Well, Nawaz has showed terrific form with the bat. He's still the highest 6 hitter of national T20. He didn't play last couple of games, but he's still leading with 13 or 14 sixes. So his batting form is very good. Before addition of Shoaib Malik, I was thinking that they might play Nawaz at number 6 and then at number 7 Shahzaib and number 8 Ahmad. But now with the inclusion of Shoaib Malik, as he is providing you extra bowling option as well, I don't think so they will go for Nawaz. They will probably look for I think Asif Ali, or they will look for some other batter who can come and smack the ball at number 6.
Shahzaib, what's the key here to UAE? Because often we've seen sides trying to score more than 200 and ending up not even getting 150, 140. We understand the wickets are on a slow side. We don't know until the first game how the wickets are going to behave there, how those pitches will unfold. But what's your safe guess over there in the UAE, considering Pakistan's strength? Do you want to see them batting first? What's the total that you have in mind can be safe for Pakistan to defend?
I think team will get confused if they're batting first on this track, because if they go for 200 and as you said they will just dismiss for 140, that would be more difficult. If you ball first there, if we have saw that in PSL, teams were winning the toss and were selecting the ball first. So if they ball first, they restrict the sides under 160. I think that would be much easier for Pakistan to chase as well, because now we have got no excuses. We have Babar, we have Rizwan, then we have Shoaib and Hafiz in the middle order as well, and then we have Ahmad, we have Shahzaib and Nawaz, Asif Ali, even Hassan Ali can bat. So I think Pakistan have strong batting lineup, and I think they will go for ball first.
They should go for bowling first. Shahzaib Ali, thank you so much for joining us on Sports Extra. Always a pleasure having you. On that note, we're going to go towards a short break, but when we come back, we'll be discussing the UEFA Nations League final. Football in detail. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Sports Extra with me, Ahmad Nawaz. Time now for our segment on football, the UEFA Nations League final. We've got a report. Let's go take a look and come back.
Kylian Mbappe inspired France to come from behind once again and defeat Spain 2-1 in the Nations League final. The reigning world champion fell behind to Michael Oyarzabal's second half strike moments after Theo Hernandez hit the woodwork. However, Luis Enrique's side, who ended Italy's 37-game unbeaten run, were pegged back 2 minutes later as Benzema scored. Benzema picked up the ball on the left just outside the box before curling an exquisite effort into the top corner to level the score. Mbappe then doubled the blow as he netted after 80 minutes for France to secure their second trophy in 3 attempts. On the other hand, European champions Italy bounced back from its first loss in more than 3 years to beat Belgium 2-1 in the Nations League third place match. Nicolo Barella opened the scoring at the start of the second half and Berardi doubled Italy's lead from the spot in the 65th minute.
There you have it, all you need to know about the UEFA Nations League final and of course that third position match as well. We'll be discussing that in detail. In studios joining us is football youth coach and football expert Sabeel Hazir. Assalamu alaikum Sabeel, how are you?
Walaikum Assalam, Ahmad. I'm very well, thank you for having me.
So how was your UEFA Nations League final? I mean, France are completely untouchables, I understand, but how did you gauge it from an expert point of view?
Well, when we were discussing the semi-finals, I think at the end of the show you asked me who I thought would win. I thought France might just nick it, and they did. They won in the end. But you're talking about France's domination. Obviously, they didn't win the Euros in between the World Cup and now, but they've been performing really well. They have a great squad of players. The amount of world-class talent in their ranks is amazing. I think the game itself panned out very interestingly because Spain obviously dominating the ball. The interesting bit is they're doing this kind of style of play with younger players, inexperienced players, and they're still sticking to that style of play and having a lot of success, right? So it was really good to see that. And France were looking to play on the counter. They have Mbappe up there. They have Benzema who can hold the ball really well. So they're trying to play on the counter, and that's pretty much what we saw throughout the game. The first half, we saw a battle down the right wing for both of them, the right wing for Spain and the right wing of France. We saw a lot of battles going down there. And the second half, I think both teams took a different approach where they were switching the ball a lot more. There were a lot more switches of play. And that opened the game up a lot more. And then I think although France had less possession, they had the same amount of shots on target, just about 1 or 2 shots, I think perhaps 1 shot less. They had the same amount of shots about from inside the box. It was very similar stats for shots, even though the possession was so different. So at the end of the day, that's what's important, what you're doing with the ball. And France was very clinical when they had it.
Karim Benzema, what do you think he brings to the game?
He is one of the best strikers I have seen in my lifetime, and I mean that no exaggeration, because obviously you have your Lewandowski's, your Suarez, these are top level pros right now, and I think the only other player currently in that conversation, as we're talking about just number 9, it would be Benzema, because he's been consistent for the last decade, well, over a decade that he's been at Real Madrid. He's won it all, and in these last 2 games as well, the goals he scored are phenomenal goals. In the semi-final, the close control he showed to get away and finish that with his weaker foot, and in this recent game, literally you've just conceded a goal after hitting the crossbar, exactly, and you come back and you're like, you know what, I'll just put it in the top corner, try stopping that, and the keeper couldn't. He touched and he couldn't stop it. So just that man can just deliver on any stage at any point whenever you need him to.
Well, I understand we had a bit of this discussion in the afternoon as well of Mbappe's goal, and you know the way it was should have been ruled or should have been not, but that debate will continue. But Kylian Mbappe is pure class. We've got to accept that now.
Mbappe, I think, has now played, is it 51 or 50 games or so, and he's been involved in like 30 plus goals with goals and assists. And he's a young boy. Let's not forget how young Mbappe is, and he's already won the World Cup. He's already scoring so many goals. He scores big goals. He scored in another final just now. Do you know, like that's not something that you expect a young kid to do. You expect them to mature over time and then get the big goals. He's getting big goals right now, and I think his goal as well, obviously we can debate the offside. Not obviously technically it's not an offside. I'm quite a big fan of any rule that allows for more goals.
Let's highlight that because people want to know. There's still a lot of confusion there, but like you were mentioning it in the afternoon, we had a chat about this. People need to understand what the rule book says.
So if the ball goes through without Garcia touching it, it is offside. And it's not like it was an accidental deflection. They was
Intentional.
Exactly. So when you intentionally go for the ball's defender, and it doesn't matter if it clips you or if you get a solid contact, once you do that, it is a new phase of play, which means Mbappe is now onside. We saw it in the World Cup with Suarez in England. It was a backhead, I think, from Gerrard, or it was some England midfielder, I can't remember right now. And Suarez was well offside, but that was how he got his goal, his second goal of the game. So this is the rule of law. That's how it is. And well done to Mbappe. A few step overs, keeper goes down and he slots it under his body. Brilliant composure to do that. And again, composure like that, such a young age for so many years. The penalty in the semi-final, big game player, and he's going to just win trophy after trophy after trophy in his career.
Well, they've got the talent. We know that. Now there are plans of Didier Deschamps. This is truly coming into action. He's providing results whether people would like it or not. There were players who didn't even become part of the scorecard. Obviously, it was Benzema and Mbappe who managed to do it, but they were playing as a team. I went through Paul Pogba's tweet and I saw how much passion there was there for him. He wanted this very badly as well. What does this symbolize to the entire world, that international football is still there to stay?
I think it shows people that international football is still a massive market, and it also shows that these cups that we thought perhaps when they were initially talked about would not be that big. The Nations League is now becoming a big tournament. It gets a lot of viewership. You see Pogba talking about it. This is a World Cup winner and he wants to go win this trophy as badly, because he's already won the World Cup now. They didn't win at the Euros, got knocked out in not great circumstances with Switzerland, but then now they've come back and won this. And whether people like the manager or not, the last 3 major tournaments, he's won you 2 of them, so you can't really complain, right? He's gotten very good results, and I think now it shows that there's a massive appetite for international football. We don't need to make the World Cup every 2 years. Just these kinds of tournaments in between will satisfy that craving.
Well, nothing to take away from Spain, because they're a young team, they're a young side. I think they performed exceptionally well. They didn't do anything wrong, probably the entire game, but they, just the fact that they were able to reach the final just shows us that they've got a great future.
100%, I think, especially with players like Gavi. Gavi was a 14-year-old boy when Italy started the unbeaten run, and he was part of the team that ended it. And now he's 17. He's still a teenager. He's not an adult. He can't go and buy certain things from the store without his parents there. So he is that kind of talent is just so amazing to see. And I'm so glad Luis Enrique has decided, you know what, I'm going to stick to these young guns, and I will get you Spanish football with these young players like our teams in the past have done, and we can only hope to see them grow. Pedri's another great talent coming out, and then you've got other players who maybe weren't called up at the moment who are also going to provide in the future. And I think it's really good that they have players like Busquets in the midfield to kind of help them, guide them and nurture them, so when the time comes that he's not there anymore, these players will be more than ready. They shouldn't have even been in this final if you look at the team that they just beat in the semi-finals.
Italy,
So I think wonderful job by everybody involved in the Spanish setup, and I think in the World Cup next year we will see more of this, hopefully.
What do you do with it, because you're involved with the youth as well, when you've got a young side like this? Certainly this is a defeat for them. It's a big achievement that they've reached the final. They had the first goal, so they would have been very confident. But what do you say to a side like this? Obviously they're down and dusted, and they're very low on confidence after losing a final, because they would have expected a trophy.
So that's actually really interesting, because when you get to the adult level, it's all about results. If you get a result as a bad player or a good player, it doesn't matter. It's about getting results. But because these players are so young, you have to take like a hybrid approach. And in youth football, you should be more performance-based than result-based, because you're trying to prepare a player for the future. So you want to instill good values and good techniques in them, which by the time they're 21, 22, they're winning games and have that mentality. So I think when you've gone through such a rough defeat and you're young, it can feel like the end of the world. So what you tell them is, look, you focus on the performance again. And look, your performances have been so well. At this age, you've brought us this far. These are the kind of numbers you're getting. And this is the kind of stuff that players who've played the game in the Champions League for 10 seasons struggle to replicate on the international stage. So you go tell the players that, and you tell them that if we perform like this, believe in the system, eventually it will get us results. That's how you do it with younger players. And this team has a lot of young players.
Definitely. Coming finally to the third position game, I understand, for me it's a bit confusing having a number 1 team in the world and no trophy. So what's going on with Belgium? Because Italy had the better share in there.
I think, of course, when Italy let's get them out of the way first, then we'll get on to Belgium. Italy, when there's one goal in it, they can win, they can hold on. It's just if they've only scored one goal against them, they can claw back a one goal deficit.
They'll defend like anything.
They can hold a 1-0 lead, they can get 2 goals. Italy can't do that. So with a team like that, you have to try and score more than 1 goal, which is only Spain's managed in the last however many years. Now, Belgium, this is their golden generation, and they have been number 1 for so many years. But again, they've choked in major tournaments. They've had good opportunities. Now, I feel for them, I really do. But at some point, you have to look at yourself and go like, well, this is our own doing. You had a 2-0 lead against France, and you lost 3-2, right? You have to learn to hold on to leads. You need a bit of bottle. And it's not like you don't have winners in that team. You've got winners in that team. Premier League winners, you've got people who've won leagues all over. And you have to then bring that kind of mentality that won you those titles into the international stage. And I think, look, they have the World Cup next year. Realistically, in my opinion, I don't think they're going to win that either. You never know with football, but they've been the dark horses at so many tournaments, and they've been in the semis and quarters, and they've been performing well in qualifying. But at the end of the day, if you are the golden generation, you were the best hope to get Belgium a trophy. And although you're all incredible players who had incredible club careers, maybe at the international level, you did disappoint slightly.
You did disappoint. For them, definitely it's a place back to the drawing board. Sabeel, thank you so much for joining us for our segment of football. On that note, we're going to go towards a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing a big fight night that happened. Stay tuned to Sports Extra. Welcome back to Sports Extra. Time now for Fight Night. And to discuss this further, we've been joined in studios by the legendary sports expert that we always have, Mr. Ali Mehdi. Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Welcome, Sam. I'm very well, thank you.
What a night for boxing. I mean, we had seen so much of flyweight, welterweights that, you know, heavyweight boxing down the line was something that we all cherished, felt nostalgic about. And Fury up against Wilder, the even fact of it happening was as best as it could get.
Look, Ahmad, if you ask purists, forget boxing purists, sports purists, what is the one sport which down the years people talk about day in and day out, and you know, which has history, which has pedigree, you know, it has prestige, is boxing and heavyweight boxing. There is nothing better than heavyweight boxing. And believe me, the match we saw on Saturday night is one for the ages. One of the best heavyweight fights I've seen, I think, this century. I'm not even joking over here. It was, I mean, a pure skill, a pure, I mean, knockout. It had full drama over
11 rounds, Ali.
11 rounds, and probably the two boxing heavyweights in the division right now. You know, you have so many competitors right now, but right now, I mean, Tyson Fury against Wilder, it was a trilogy, the third fight in the past 3 years. And, you know, it lived up to its billing. You're talking about the first one which took place in 2018, which was a draw. Second one when, you know, Fury actually had it one-sided. But this one went the full distance. And everybody who actually paid to watch this match, whether it be via TV, whether they were in the stadium, you know, they got their money straight. And it was probably one of the best, most exhilarating, pound for pound, best matches you'll ever see. It had absolutely everything, Ahmad. You know, 2 knockdowns for both of them, and then this Tyson Fury delivering the knockout punch in the 11th. You know, this is exactly why we love boxing so much.
Let's talk about Fury for once. People have had a problem with his attitude. People have had a problem with the things he said over social media and primetime media as well. People have had all sorts of problems. But when I see his journey from 2014 up till now, not just mentally or career-wise, physically the transformation that he's been through, and like you mentioned that he got knocked down, and then from there onwards coming back to knocking down your opponent in round 11, What does that glorify for a boxer?
Look, I think it's probably one of the greatest comebacks in history. You're talking about, if you take back the clock back to 2017, there was this obese guy. I mean, this is one person who 2015 had all the heavyweights. He had the WBO, he had the WBA, he had the ring, he had the IBF, he had all the titles except for the WBC. Then 2017, he decided, 2016, he gave everything up. He went down the drain. He was obese too. And then, he got challenged by Deontay Wilder. And then after that, he made his way back to the top, getting into shape in 1 year, fighting Deontay Wilder, then drawing that first match, second one winning that, and then told to replay that in the third trilogy. It was, it's unbelievable. His career speaks volumes that if you want anything in life, you can do anything. And I think that Tyson Fury, he's a role model for people over here that,
I mean, there was absolutely no reason for him to take this fight because, like you mentioned, in that second fight, he had beaten him a one-sided affair. Let's talk about that. But because he was blamed for cheating and, for sabotaging the fight with Deontay's gloves and whatnot, so he really wanted to prove himself.
He wanted to prove himself too, and he was ordered for this rematch too. And if it was another person too, their promoters would have said that, no, we're not going to have it. But look, Tyson Fury is a man of his word. He decided, I want to have this fight. And then he proved yesterday that despite a very good performance, a very pound for pound excellent performance by Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury wasn't at his best, but his pure grit, his pure determination got him through. Let's not forget he was two knockdowns in the fourth round. In the third, he got this Deontay Wilder, but then the bronze bomber, he was down in the 10th, and then that knockout punch to get him in the left. It's one of the knockout
when both of them were exhausted.
When both of them were exhausted, and it was one of the knockouts of probably of the century. And I think at the end of the day, it showed that Tyson Fury is probably the best heavyweight divisions definitely of this era.
Ali Mehdi, I have to ask you, and I'm tempted to ask you this because I believe rivalries keep sports alive. In cricket, Pakistan, India, the Ashes have kept it alive. Football, Brazil, Argentina, England, Germany, or coming down to El Clasico on the league level, or United against Liverpool. Now in boxing, this is the third fight, as you mentioned, between them. Is this a rivalry that has kept boxing alive?
It has kept boxing alive, and it's been going on for 3 years. We had the pandemic too, so there was a delay also. This match actually should have to happen next year too. But now it's done and dusted. This rivalry is done and dusted. Wilder is finished. I mean, Tyson Fury has proved that he is the best. Now what's forward is what's interesting. Wilder is now into unknown territory over here.
Who's next?
Who's next for him? The problem over here that the whole world was hoping for an all-Britain fight between him and Joshua. Now the problem is Joshua lost his belts to the Ukrainian Usyk. Now he's activated a rematch, and now he's going to fight Usyk early next year. Once that match happens, the winner probably might be a winner for Tyson Fury. But the other conundrum what Tyson Fury has is, does he wait for the winner of that fight, or does he have to, according to the WBC management, does he go for he might be ordered to fight Dillian White, which is another Briton. So he has to weigh his options, and whatever the promoters say accordingly, Tyson Fury will go ahead.
Well,
with that.
he himself made this statement that when the chips are down, I will always deliver, and he also said that I'm the greatest heavyweight of my era.
I think he's definitely the heaviest. He's only lost once. And look, this is one person who's dominated for boxing. 2015, he had all the titles when he miraculously beat Klitschko back in 2015. Like I mentioned before, he actually went down the drain, and then he came back to win, and beat Deontay Wilder, who's only lost ever to Tyson Fury. So, Tyson Fury has proved that he's got nothing to lose. He's probably the best of his generation. But I think that one piece left in his puzzle is to get those three other boxing titles: the WBA, WBC, the IBF, which he wants so badly. But for that, he'll have to wait for the winner of Usyk and Anthony Joshua.
Definitely. Ali Mehdi, thank you so much for joining us on Sports Extra. That's all we have time for from me and the entire team. Until next time, it's goodbye for now.